Hello, and here's a virtual tour of one class's instructional design I had a heavy hand in within the learning management system of Canvas. This is at Northern Virginia Community College for Art 101 and 102, which basically is a historical approach to moving through art throughout a variety of different timelines, all in chronological sequence. So one big goal for the class was to provide a very structured flow where the students could navigate chapter by chapter instead of week 1, week 2, week 3. And the reason I advised this is because they wanted to use these templates that they would copy out to the various sections for a variety of different courses that might be 16-week or 8-week. Thus, these could be malleable and not so contingent on those time frames. So we established chapter modules. Now, within those chapter modules, I suggested that we subdivide them into a variety of different tools that are contained within, having headers and then indented in items that pertain to that given designation. So ebook and study tools, we have a direct link to the ebook where we click on it and it takes us right in for the students to do the reading. Now, in terms of modules, I also advocated for having a subsection for all videos and items that would be referenced within that given chapter, making it accessible to quickly launch a video link as an instructor or for students to reference them in discussions and utilization as media touch points. So we put in these direct links to either specific media within the courseware, like this video that we see here with ADA compliant captioning transcripts, as we can see here. There's the closed captioning, there's the full screen, and then useful and handy chapter-based YouTube playlists that collect quite a bit of content. These, of course, being useful and complete YouTube playlists with a variety of different related videos that the students could skip around in. These, of course, having auto captioning and compliance mostly across the board. Additionally, we had a sub area for specific web links to websites that the instructor found useful as secondary resources and references outside of the learning management system. Here we went over to history.com to look at some information about Stonehenge. And finally, clearly labeled for each module are assignments, the things that have point values so that the students know exactly what accountability touch points are going to be expected in terms of a grade for that given chapter module. Now, from a backward design perspective, we looked at several different course goals, but let's touch on how this course speaks to a few of those specific goals. One of the big objectives of the class was to provide an interactive and media-based experience to learning this history of art. Hence the videos, hence the web links. But another thing was the selection of courseware. So when we looked at that, we specifically looked at image-based readers. Rather than having a flat PDF of the text, we looked at a courseware that was centered around the image for each page, as we can see here, with function to zoom in and move around the image or even expand it to full screen so we could see the various details of that image and really analyze down to the finer details. These images additionally had media touch points built right in for convenience and reference, so these video icons, web links to the relevant YouTube playlist, and most impressively, a link to the Google Map location. Navigation was done with this image carousel of each individual image. Let's skip over to Stonehenge, and we'll use that as an example in terms of that Google Map location. If we click into that, it takes the students over to that geographical site where we can flip to a satellite view, and then we can rotate to the 3D view and even zoom in and circle that entire structure, as well as dragging that little guy over, dropping him in right into the center of it so that we can have a virtual art tour of this archaeological site. We can analyze it, we can look around, and we can pace ourselves around it. Now, another goal of the class was to have good formative assessments to make sure that the students were grasping the basics of each period. So, in looking at that, that's where our summaries of the chapters and our quizzes would come into play. Now, these summaries are very basic text entry kind of items with specific prompts and directions for the students. But then we have the quizzes, which we have when we launch into it. It takes us right in. The students do that formative assessment, and it gives them feedback into the ebook where to go to find the correct answer for each individual question within. So it's very good from a remediation perspective. Now, what about our summative assessments? Well, in terms of higher level on Bloom's taxonomy, there were included discussion boards at the chapter level where the students could speak to specific items regarding the chapter. They would pick a response to one or more of the questions and respond to at least one of the other students' responses. For a larger assessment, you have that final paper in this case. And this is 3 pages about an item in a museum or museum visit that the students had. Specific directions for this, of course, being within a module called Start Here at the top, the museum essay project. So that's just a snippet of some basic instructional design work that I did in Canvas and how we subdivided it instead of having it at that week level, having it at the chapter level. This is then copied out or imported over to subsequent sections for use by other faculty. In fact, we can export this instructional design and share it out to other related institutions in consortium with Northern Virginia Community College.